Hello and welcome to CANNAMANtv. My name is Connor McLeod. In this very informative interview, I speak with Emma Appleby, mother of Teagan Appleby. In this interview, we discuss Teagan's epilepsy and Emma's struggle to secure her essential cannabis-based medicine, the relationship between the NHS and the private medical sector relating to cannabis-based medicinal products, the ongoing challenges parents of epileptic children face in raising funds for medicine, what's necessary in order to open up access to cannabis-based medicinal products, and the stigma attached to parents who choose to break the law in order to secure their child's essential medicine. Make sure and like and subscribe, and join me on Patreon, where you could help to build a stronger cannabis media platform. Now then, let's talk cannabis. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me, Emma.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So at the very beginning then, where is it exactly where Teagan's story begins?
Well, it's quite complicated really, because Teagan was born with multiple conditions. And we didn't know straight away until probably about a couple of months into her being here, we started to realise something wasn't right. And quite quickly we were told that she had a chromosome deficiency, and it was very, very rare. I didn't know much about it. They'd be surprised if she rolled over, never mind anything else pretty much. And they said it does come with seizures. If you haven't had seizures by the age of around 3, you've probably one of the lucky ones and you've missed it. So we were told at the beginning that we could end up with a daughter having seizures. But we just took each day as it came, and just her disability gives her severe global delay. So she's like a baby. She's 12 now, but she's still very 12 to 18 months maybe mentally. So it wasn't, how can I say, it wasn't anything different for me because Teagan's my only child. It was motherhood. That's all. I was being a mum, and that's all I knew. So it wasn't really anything different until the age of 4. We were out having dinner. I'll never forget her first seizure. We were out having dinner with her dad and his family.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Teagan threw her head forward onto a table so hard and so unexpectedly that we all just kind of like, what was that? What was that all about? Had no idea. And obviously she screamed because she'd hurt herself, and we all panicked, and we thought that was a really weird, like a strange movement for her to make.
Yeah.
Went home, she was fine. She hadn't no lasting damage, just obviously a bang to the head. So we thought, okay, bit odd, we'll just keep an eye on her. And because obviously we were told at the beginning that when by the age of 3 you've probably missed them, we weren't thinking of seizures. We were just thinking it's part of her condition, she's got some kind of movements. Didn't even relate it to epilepsy. It wasn't until the next couple of weeks we started to see arms come out, legs come out, dropping, arms raised, like a tonic seizure, just lots of little other seizures were creeping in.
Yeah.
Even when he was at the very depths of his drug addiction, where did you identify as the place that would treat him? And how much did it cost? There's no wine. He was doing so much, nobody wanted it. It's very difficult to get him in anywhere. So you identify the place. What was the treatment?
Come on, Teagan. Teagan.
So we were like, oh, absolutely gutted that they were starting to appear. Very quickly she got referred to an epilepsy team because she was getting quite bad quite quickly. Her epilepsy diagnosis kind of went from 0 to 100 in about a week.
Right.
She had her first EEG and they were like, she needs to go to London. She needs to be seen by a top consultant. This is quite a severe abnormal EEG. So obviously gutted, because my sister had epilepsy when she was younger, but she grew out of it. And I remember the first time I saw her seizure and I thought, I don't know how I'm going to cope being a mum, having to watch my daughter go through this.
Yeah.
And yeah, very quickly she got seen by a consultant in London, and I'll never forget the things she said to me after Teagan's first EEG with her. The following morning, she had an overnight EEG. The following morning, she came in to see us. She said, "It's probably the worst EEG I've ever seen in my life." And she is like top London Southeast epilepsy specialist, you know, around. She is good.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, what's my life going to be like? What's Teagan's life going to be like? So yeah, it kind of went from nothing to full-blown seizures daily, every day, and it was awful. Like, it was awful.
What was
So,
the sorry, on you go.
pardon?
On you go. I was just going to ask, what was the next stage then? What did they then recommend treatment?
So straight away she was put on medication, the same that everybody gets. So you start with epilim, or what do they call it nowadays? I can't remember what it's called, but it's like another name for it. So she started on that, and then that didn't work, so they gave something else, and that kind of became a regular thing with Teagan. Nothing worked, so they gave her something else. Her seizures were mainly triggered by sleep. So at night or during the day, if she had a nap, she would just seizure constantly, because as soon as she went to sleep, she started seizuring, which then affected her day-to-day basis of she was tired all the time because she wasn't sleeping properly.
Yeah.
At one point, she had a sleep study done because of her seizures were so bad at night. They were saying that her body wasn't actually going into stage 3 and 4 of sleep. She was only getting to stage 2 because her seizures were so active. They wouldn't let her brain sleep properly.
Yeah.
So she wasn't actually recovering at night. She was just constantly seizuring. But a lot of people don't understand that if you're not stiff or shaking or presenting like you're having a seizure, they don't understand actually your brain can still be having a lot of seizures behind. It's almost like behind your eyes. You can't quite see it in the body, but like I've learned by looking at Teagan, I can see when she's having a seizure that nobody else can see. If that makes sense. That sounds really odd.
No, it
but
doesn't.
because of she has so many types, so many different severity of seizure, it's really hard and really like difficult for people to see if she's having a seizure or not.
Yeah.
Like we've been in hospital, for example, when she was kept in for a night or so, and I've gone to the nurse, so how many seizures have you seen this evening? And they might say, oh, a couple. And I'd be like, well, I've been sitting here and I've noted 25. You know, it's that they can be so quick, but they can also be like so little, but constant. So it's horrible. Epilepsy is probably the worst condition I've ever had to deal with in my life, ever.
Yeah.
Especially when it's your child.
I think this is one of the things that doesn't get appreciated when it comes to the media and cannabis medicine, is that you're not just dealing with the individual that requires the cannabis medicine, you're dealing with the immediate family that have to maintain the circumstance because they can't get the medicine they need.
In 2018, Teagan had been having seizures for 2009, 10, 11, 12. So about 6 years, about 5-6 years. Right. She got to the point where we'd had 15 AEDs. She was on about 6 in one go. You know, it was that much of a cocktail. She had a VNS implanted in 2012, I want to say. And then in 2018, she was seizuring up to 300 times a day, to the point we couldn't do anything. She was going to school, but they were calling an ambulance 3-4 times a week. She was going into A&E and being pumped full of rescue medication again 3-4 times a week. It got to the point our local hospitals knew that if someone rung up saying Teagan's coming in, they knew who Teagan was, they knew what to do. You know, it got to the point where it was becoming silly. We were in there so much. I was in hospital more than we were at home.
Yeah.
And it was, when was it? The end of August. She got really, sorry, my phone keeps cutting out. The end of August 2018, she was really, really poorly, to the point I didn't know what to do. I was at a loss with her. Her seizures were out of control. And then in September, she got admitted to our local hospital. I'd given her rescue medication 3 times that week. We were in there for a few days, and the doctors basically, it got to the point, local hospital doctors were almost scared to do anything with her because of how complex her epilepsy was. We don't know what to do with her. So they rung London and spoke to the neurology department up there, and they basically said she needs to come here, but she needs to go in induced coma. So obviously my heart just broke. My life shattered in front of me. You know, I don't think I realised how serious this was until they said, you know, we're basically putting her to sleep to give her brain a rest because her body needs to recover. So she was put in an induced coma, transferred to London. She was in intensive care. The following morning, because that was the middle of the night, and the following morning her specialist from London came to see us, and I broke down, literally broke down to her and said, look, I can't see Teagan go through this anymore. She's not sleeping properly. She's not being able to go to school properly. We can't plan anything. We can't even go out for a day. We have to have an idea of where a local hospital is, make sure we've got rescue medication on us. It just got to the point where it was ruining her life. Her quality of life was awful, absolutely awful. She said, no, it's fine. We're going to keep her in for as long as we need to try and work out how we can make her better. So I was quite relieved that they were taking this seriously, because normally when we go into hospital, give rescue med, break the seizure, send her home. The next day it starts again. It's just a vicious cycle over and over again. So I was really pleased that she said, no, this time we're going to keep her in, we're going to get her sorted. And I said, okay, great. So we did that, and the following morning they woke her up from the coma, and her seizures started more or less straight away. So we had a discussion about her medication. They were like, let's try this, let's try that. And I was like, no. I said, enough. She is on, excuse me. I said, at the moment, she is on 6 different epilepsy medications. I said, her body is a cocktail of drugs that aren't working. I said, right now, where she is, she can't get any worse. I said, I want her stripped of every medication and I want to start again. And they agreed, which I was really pleased about. So we basically stripped all her medication back and put her on, I think she was on 2, but they were the ones you used at the beginning that were quite helpful. So we was in London, and this was around the time that it was suddenly announced that Epidiolex was going to be legalised and given a licence. So obviously I was right straight away on that. I've been doing a lot of interviews publicly with the local media, and it turned out that Peter Carroll actually lives in Folkestone and I live in Dover. So it's very handy that he was literally down the road, and he saw a piece about Teagan in the paper, in a local paper, and he rang me, and he was like, I want to help you. He was like, I want to help Teagan's fight. I want to be there and help you win this battle. So that was actually before Teagan went into hospital, because he came and saw us in hospital and he saw Teagan in intensive care. And I think by him seeing her there, that he was like, we've got to win this fight. So obviously Peter Carroll helped us, and then End Our Pain began and we got more families together. I demanded to have Epidiolex on Teagan's bedside table on the 2nd of November. And they said they couldn't do it. And I said, you can and you will. If you don't, I will be going to court and saying you're refusing to give medication that could save her life. I put it in writing. I gave it to her specialist. The following morning, I was told it had been ordered, and GW Pharma were delivering it to the hospital for Teagan the following morning. So I finally got what I'd asked for. So we started Epidiolex on the 4th of November. And within a couple of weeks, it really helped. It really helped Teagan. And on I think it was the 3rd of December, we were finally allowed to go home. So we've been in hospital 2.5 months in London, and we finally got to go home ready for Christmas. I was feeling very positive. I was very grateful that we'd been given this medication. And things started to get better. Her daytime seizures reduced. Unfortunately, her nighttime seizures didn't change. They were still quite nasty and quite frequent. But because her daytimes had reduced, she was able to go to school and we could go out and do things. It just gave her that better quality of life, which to me is more important. I want her to have a good, happy life. So that was really important to me. And then in February, we noticed her seizures returning quite quickly during the day, and they were becoming quite aggressive. She'd hurt herself a few times from having tonic-clonics banging her head, just nasty seizures that weren't very nice to see. And I started thinking to myself, is this medication the right medication for Teagan? I then heard about Alfie Dingley getting his medication, and I thought, right, Teagan needs that medication. So I asked her consultant, and they said no. They couldn't prescribe it. So I contacted a clinic in Holland and asked if they'd see Teagan. They said they needed a diagnosis of Lennox Gastaut Syndrone or Dravet syndrome to see her. Well, her consultant was happy to write the diagnosis on her paperwork that she has got LGS, because basically it's drug-resistant epilepsy, which is what Teagan has. So we got it in writing. I sent all the paperwork over. The hospital in London helped. They sent all the paperwork to the hospital in Holland for us. And eventually we got an appointment. So we flew over to Holland. I went. So this is a big thing. This is where Teagan's story kind of started to be quite a big story. So End Our Pain, a group of about, I think we started at about 12 families. Now we're bigger than that. We tried our best to get this medication legalized and available on prescription for our children. It got to the point that nothing was happening. People weren't listening. The government didn't really, I say didn't really care. I don't know if that's right, but that's how it feels. So in April 2019, I had the opportunity to go to Holland to this hospital to get a private prescription from a private doctor out there. So I did something that a lot of people didn't agree with, but I don't regret it. I broadcasted it. I told everybody. I told the media. I told the government. I told my MP. I told everybody. I was breaking the law because I was bringing that medication back into the country without an import license. Now, I did that because my daughter's life was at risk. That's why I did that. And I told people because everybody, including the government, including the NHS, need to see how desperate I was and still am as a parent to keep my daughter alive. That's how important it is she has the medication. So I contacted BBC, my local BBC reporter, and I ended up having him come out with us, and the politics show came out as well. And they followed our journey. They came on the plane with us. They came to the hospital with us. They came to the pharmacy, because people think, oh, you're getting it from abroad. What's a black market? No, it's not. It's come from a hospital. It's gone to a private pharmacy. It's now coming home on a private prescription. So none of it is bought illegally. Everything now is legal. The illegal thing I did was I brought a medication into the country without a UK prescription and an import license. That was the first time. So that was April 2019. We flew out at the beginning of April. We stayed out there for, I think we went the Friday, and then we came back on the Sunday. And when we got back, obviously I'd made it very public. We were going on Facebook, everywhere, local media. It was all over the papers. You know, they knew when I was flying, but they knew I was flying too. That was the point. I wanted them to know. I wanted them to see what they were going. I always thought what they were going to do to me. They could have arrested me. They didn't. When I got to Southend, so I flew into, they were waiting for me. When I got through the door to passport control, I saw, I think there were 4 border force officers standing there, and I knew straight away they were there for me, you know. And I was intrigued to see what they were going to say to me. And 2 of them were women. And do you know what? They were so lovely. They were so nice to me. They asked if I had anything on me. Well, first of all, they asked if they could talk to me. And I said, yeah, that's fine. They said, oh, can you come round here, follow me? Yeah, no problem. And they said, right, well, you know, we've been told to stop you. We've informed you might be carrying something you shouldn't be. Have you got anything to tell us? And I said, well, I know you know what I've got, and you also know why I'm doing it. And they said, yeah, we do. Obviously I got upset because even though I knew it was going to happen, that medication cost me £4,500. So in that minute, all I could think about was all these people that have helped by raising money for Teagan. I've lost it all. I've just lost £4,500 worth of medication, and I was gutted. But after talking to them, they made it ever so clear, almost too clear to me, I was going to get it back, because they kept saying to me over and over again, we have been told to hold it, not to destroy it. And I was like, why would you say that if you're not trying to tell me something?
Yeah.
And they said, we understand, you know, we're parents, we do what we do for our kids. And I said, that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm doing this for my daughter. I'm not a drug smuggler. I'm not a criminal. I'm not doing this for financial gain. I'm doing this to keep my daughter alive. And they said, we completely understand, but we have to do our job. I said to them, I appreciate it. I'm grateful that you haven't been angry and aggressive and horrible to me. But obviously I was absolutely gutted that I just lost £4,500 for medication. And the BBC were behind me, so they knew everything that happened. They'd gone out and told all the reporters in the airport, because Southend's quite a small airport, and it was just covered in reporters waiting for me. So obviously they all knew. So as soon as I came out, everybody was like, oh, and I was like, well, I can't deal with this right now. But after all of that, that was the Sunday. And then Peter Carroll was at the airport waiting for me along with Hannah Deacon. And straight away, Peter got on the phone and managed to speak to, I think it was, what's his name? I can't remember who it was, one of the MPs. And they managed to get an urgent question the following morning. So Monday morning in Parliament, Teagan's case was heard. And it was questioned as to why they confiscated her medication, and that she has to have it back. So that was the Sunday. So on the Monday, I then called one of Teagan's doctors in London. So this doctor wasn't her main consultant, but he was another consultant for epilepsy.
Right.
And he looked after the VNS side of Teagan's epilepsy. But he also is a private doctor. And he said that he was happy for Teagan to go to Holland, get a prescription from a private doctor, and then basically he would not take her on as a patient, but he would guide us with the product, if that made sense.
Yeah.
So we had someone local or localish that would be able to advise us. So when I got told on the Sunday they were taking it off me because I didn't have a UK prescription, I rung him, begging him to write me a prescription just so I could get it out of customs.
Yeah.
He made an appointment to see me that week. and he wrote me a private UK prescription so I could get the medication out of customs. After that, we had to get an import license again. So we managed, I think someone else was getting something imported. I'm not too sure how that worked, but I think the hospital worked around getting it imported, and then it was dispensed through an NHS hospital in London.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, but on a private prescription.
Yeah. See, that can be done then. I mean, that's, I know you're going to keep going, see, this can be done. That can be done.
This is what I'm saying. Oh, there's
Yeah.
more. There's more.
Yeah.
So that was the first time. So on the, I think it was the 13th of August, we got Teagan's medication back, the whole lot. Now, when I got that oil, that should have lasted at least 3 months, but we had to increase the dose quite quickly with her. So it didn't last 3 months. So I had to get another prescription, and I thought I'm not gonna let customs stop me this time. I'm gonna take a UK prescription with me. Even though I couldn't use that abroad, I could still had it to show that I'm bringing the right product in.
Yeah.
So I spoke to this doctor that helped me last time, and I said, I've got to go to Holland. I need some more medication. You can see the improvement it's had on Teagan. You know, it's changed her life. Can you write me a prescription, a private one, just so I've got it if I get stopped at customs? And he said, yeah, that's fine. So I had a UK prescription, and I went to Holland. I made it public again, again proving that I have to keep doing this for my child. And I took Tonya Antoniazzi with me, who is an MP, who is very, very for medical cannabis for our children. She has done everything she can to help us. So she came to Holland with me to get the prescription. My own MP wouldn't. He refused to have anything to do with it. So I was really grateful that she'd come with me. So again, it was public knowledge we were going. Government knew I was going. I got a phone call from drugs and firearm group, that kind of those kind of people. So they rung me. So yeah, they rung me and warned me that if I brought medication back into the country without a UK prescription, it would be confiscated at customs. And I said, okay. I thought, I'm not going to tell them I've got a prescription, because why should I? So we went out. We went out the same day. So came back, the same day. And they'd looked up what flight I was taking, because funnily enough, in Holland, we found out Tonya booked the wrong flight home. She'd booked a flight half an hour after me. And the idea was for us to arrive at the airport together and go through customs together. So I actually waited in a toilet, in the ladies' toilets, hiding, because I didn't want to go through on my own. I wanted her there as a bit of moral support.
Of course.
So when she arrived and we walked into customs, they obviously approached us, asked me to go with them. And then they said, we were expecting you half an hour ago. And I thought, good, I'm glad I made you wait. It's funny how, you know, they'd looked up my flight, because I hadn't advertised what flight I was getting. They'd obviously looked up on my passport my flight details. So yeah, they stopped me, and again they were very, very friendly, and they said, we've been told to confiscate medication from you. And I said, okay. I said, can you tell me why? And they said, yeah, we've got a letter for you. So there was a letter written out in an envelope ready for me when I got there. And I opened it and I read it and I said, I'm sorry, this isn't true. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, this letter states that you're confiscating my medication because I haven't got a UK passport. Just hold on 1 second. went in my handbag, and out I pulled my UK prescription.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, do you mind holding on?" I said, "No, that's fine. I'll just wait here." And they were gone for about 45 minutes. Didn't know what to do. They had no clue what to do. And in the end, they took it off me because I didn't have an import license. So they changed their mind. The fact that I should have had an import license and didn't.
Right.
That wasn't on the letter.
Yeah.
The letter said a UK prescription. So now they're saying because I never because they have a UK import license, they took it off me. So I lost it again. And then Tonya obviously was in Parliament the following week. And she asked the question why it was taken off me. And again, the same response, needed an import license. So I rang the doctor that gave me the prescription, and I spoke to him. And miraculously, the medication was given back to the hospital and dispensed through that pharmacy. And the pharmacy, the hospital pharmacy, paid the import charge.
Yeah. See, this is honestly, Emma, this is tremendous to hear, but it's also so annoying because think how many this is an ongoing situation still, and it's shown that we can still do this.
So basically, the hospital that dispensed the medication has done all the paperwork, all the legwork to be able to dispense medication.
Yeah.
The only thing they didn't do was write a prescription.
Yeah.
So a private importer charged me to get it out of customs to be taken to this hospital in London.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't pay that charge. The hospital did. They offered to pay that import charge. So,
and just so people are aware, like the hospital's under the NHS.
Yes.
Exactly.
An NHS hospital paid for an import charge and dispensed the medication through their own pharmacy on a private prescription. So people that don't know, there's lots of red tape and background work behind a prescription. It's not as simple as here it is, take it away. You know, it's a lot more than that. Yeah. But they've done all of that, especially when it comes to medication that isn't licensed by the NHS. Mm-hmm. So it's called a special license, I think it's called. So they've done all the setup. It's all there ready to be used. It's just not being used. Mm-hmm. So after all of that, I basically said, can you prescribe? You've set it up, you've dispensed it. Can you prescribe on the NHS for Teagan? Yeah. No. Okay. Will you take over prescribing privately? Possibly. I said, okay, great, that's fine. I've got somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, I had the medication, a really good month or so, and then I needed another prescription. Happy to go to Holland. I'd arranged it with the pharmacy to go and pick it up. Spoke to the doctor, emailed him, please can I have another prescription for Teagan? He emailed back saying, I'm afraid I can no longer prescribe for Teagan privately. And I was like, what? I ran out of medication in less than a week. I'm going on Friday. Why? Why? Yeah. And he came back with his trust didn't back him. It didn't support him. So I think he was told from above that if he prescribed privately, he'd lose his job. Yeah. That's my personal opinion. He's never admitted anything to me. He's never told me that. Yeah. But why would he go from prescribing privately and being really supportive to saying, no, I'm not going to? If he didn't believe in the product, why did he prescribe it in the first place? Yeah, exactly. It's most likely because they were going to him continuously prescribing would undermine the narrative of that we can't do this in the NHS. Pretty much, yeah. So I was a mess because I literally had nothing. I had no prescription. I had medication waiting for me at Holland, but no way of getting it into the country. So if I went over there again, they'd stop me. I'd have no UK prescription, no import license. I'd lose it again. So yeah, we had another private doctor. Luckily, we managed to find someone who prescribed for Teagan. So I went back out to Holland, got another batch, and did I get stopped? Oh no, I think we got it imported that time legally, and it cost a bomb, absolute bomb. And then a lot of other families started doing the same thing, and we managed to get an importer that imported all of our medication together, and it made it cheaper.
Yeah.
At this time, around this time, we actually went on a family holiday to Spain with my partner's children and Teagan. And when we came home, I got stopped at the airport. So my passport had been marked.
Really?
Yeah, they'd marked my passport.
What was the
I-
reason for stopping you?
Because my passport had been marked. I asked the man at the checkout at the desk, I said, why have you stopped me? Like, I've come from Spain. It's not like I've gone to get oil.
Yeah.
I said, is my passport marked? And he said, yeah, your passport is marked. And I was like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm not a criminal. And you know, it's making me feel like a criminal, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just a mum trying to look after her child. Now, if that was your child, would you do the same thing? You know what he said to me? He went, I wish you all the luck in the world. He said, I really do. He said, I think it was his son has epilepsy.
Right.
And he said, if I could help him, I would. He said, I really feel for you. So my passport had been marked when I went on holiday. They searched my bags. I said, I'm not carrying anything. They were, okay, fine, you can go. So then I rung the drugs people again that rung me before, and I said, look, you've marked my passport. I said, this isn't right. I said, you know it's coming in imported now. We've got an importer bringing it in legally. I'm not breaking the law anymore. And you, like, can you unmark my passport? Because I'm not made for like a criminal every time I go abroad. It's just not fair.
Yeah.
And then they did. They unmarked my passport. And then I did. I ran out. I ran out of oil. Well, I was about to run out of oil, and I was very low on money, and I couldn't afford the importer. So me and another parent did a cheeky trip to Holland, and didn't get stopped. Didn't tell anyone, just went, came back. And then after that, the importer was like, right, now we're going to reduce the prices. We've got to deal with the companies. We can do it at a lower rate. So that kind of helped all of us with the medication. So I haven't been to Holland since then. I haven't needed to go. But then we noticed that the oil Teagan was getting from Holland was starting to not work as well.
Right.
Her seizures started to come back. So we then had to find a second oil to try. We've tried a few. They've all been full extract. Well, we were told they were. Some of them turned out weren't. We got them tested and they weren't full extract.
Right.
They were similar to Epidiolex, so you know, not much in it.
Yeah.
But we have tried a few full extracts and nothing has worked as well as what she's on now. So she's now on Silixa from Israel.
Right.
But it's called Noidex now. She's now on Silixa the most of the time, but we have to have another oil because Teagan builds up tolerance really quickly to medications, not just cannabis oil, all medications. So she could have a really good couple of weeks and then suddenly she'll just seizure all day, every day. And then we have to change to an oil and then just put her back on her normal one as soon as we can. But we normally give her 2 to 4 days on a different oil so her receptors can like clear of it and then reboot her, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're struggling with second oil because some of the ones we've tried are so bad that it's just not safe for her to go onto them. But we have to have at least 2 oils in stock all the time.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at cost, it's ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, to be honest.
So it's costing me around £2,000 every month.
Yeah, which is
Now,
completely unsustainable.
I get a lot of people, because I make it very public what we have to raise, because I fundraise all of it. I get a lot of people saying to me, CBD doesn't cost that much money, you're lying, blah, blah, blah. When Teagan was in intensive care, first lockdown, we ran out of money. I had to beg the doctor that we fell out with to put her on Epidiolex just so she had something, because we had no money, we had nothing. Everyone was in lockdown, nobody had money to help us. And within 2 weeks of being on Epidiolex, she was back in intensive care in induced coma.
Right.
Because it was just not helping her at all.
Mm.
We were really, really lucky that an anonymous donor came forward and actually donated £2,000 for a batch of medication for Teagan.
Right.
So he managed to get that medication, but at the same time, somebody very well known in the cannabis world tried to make me out a liar and basically slandered me all over Facebook and other social media platforms. And I had to prove that I was paying that much money, which at the time, all I thought about was my daughter in intensive care losing her life.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want another parent who should understand exactly how I'm feeling to be saying things like that about me, trying to make out that I'm lying.
Yeah.
So I had to prove it. I had a receipt on my phone that I had to pay as much money. I was showing people, I was explaining that Teagan has to have 2 different types of oil at least every month. We have to have it in stock.
Yeah.
And because it's medically tested, it's not something someone's bottled up in the back of the garden. It's proper tested. It's got lab reports. It's high CBD, low THC.
Yeah.
Teagan is very sensitive to THC. When we was on Bedrolite and Bedica, we had to lose the Bedica because it was just too much.
Right.
We had to stick to Bedrolite on its own. But yeah, so we have to use the correct oils. I've had people message me left, right and centre offering me this oil, that oil, everywhere over the country, different countries. I must know all my local drug dealers. The amount of times my phone's gone off and messages, and I understand people are being, trying to be helpful and generous, and it is really kind of them, but I have to explain that we have to have proper tested oil. I have to know what she's having in that oil each dose.
Of course.
I can't muck around epilepsy medication. It's not something you can play with. You have to have a consistent dose every time.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to explain to people why there's so much money involved. Most of it is the oil itself, but then you have got the import costs. You've got to pay for someone to go abroad and bring it back legally. And there is so much paperwork behind that because it's not a recognised medication. So there's lots of special rates and all kinds of things they have to do as well. So it's not just the oil costs that, it's all the bits around it as well that add up.
Yeah.
But it's the lowest it's been. It has gone down. But Teagan's 12, so it also depends on how much oil they have. Does it have to have prescribed? Depends on how much oil, how much you've got to pay. So obviously, that can change as well. So yeah, it's been hard.
Understandable. I mean, Jesus, this is actually it's. I mean, one of the things when you said that there about how she's very sensitive to the medicine, it's like I think what people that aren't aware of cannabis and the endocannabinoid system, the endocannabinoid system is continuously evolving. So even as Teagan ages, her response potentially could change as well. And I think this is the thing where a lot of people don't understand that cannabis consumers, people that consume even recreationally, are aware that consuming the same product over and over, your body becomes accustomed to it. So inevitably, when you're taking medicine and cannabinoid medicine, it does the exact same process. It's just much more important, understandably.
It has been the hardest 3 years of my life. The fact that her life basically is in my hands. If I don't raise this money, she doesn't have her oil.
Yeah.
That is how simple it comes down to. It is so matter of fact. I have to find that £2,000 every month. If
Yeah.
I don't, Teagan suffers.
I mean, what
You
would
know,
remove this? What would remove the barrier? Is it the NICE guidelines that say that is it Lennox Gastaut Syndrome doesn't
to
account
be
for it?
fair, the NICE guidelines don't help,
Right.
but if the NHS wanted to, they could do it.
Yeah.
Matt Hancock,
Yeah.
he makes me really angry.
Yeah.
He made me cry.
Yeah.
When he came to see us at Parliament that first time, he promised to help us.
Yeah.
And he said he knew we didn't have time on our hands.
Yeah.
And nothing happened.
It shows since then he's not exactly a man of integrity. Let's be honest.
No,
No.
not at all.
No.
Couldn't stand the man. But you know, it's been difficult because Teagan's story's been in Parliament on more than one occasion. So MPs are well aware of not just Teagan, but the End Our Pain campaign.
Yeah.
And they still haven't done anything about it. Now, if they wanted to, they could. They really could. I know I shouldn't compare them, but look at COVID. Look how quickly jabs
Yeah.
have been cleared for okay.
Yeah.
You know, if you want the testing done, it can be done.
Yeah.
We offered our children, the End Our Pain parents offered our children as research.
Mm-hmm.
We are the evidence.
Yeah.
Our children have proven 3 years ago, Teagan was seizuring 300 times a day at least, to the point she couldn't even go to school.
Yeah.
She hasn't been in hospital since the first lockdown. That's only because it ran out of oil.
Yeah.
She has rescue medication now, maybe once a month, because cannabis oil, which I want to make really, really clear, it's not a cure.
Mm-hmm.
Teagan still has seizures.
Yeah.
Teagan is not seizure free. Teagan will seizure every day, mainly in her sleep, but there are days when she could have 20, 30, 40 seizures. But most days we're around 5 to 10. I can deal with that because her quality of life is so much better now, massively better. And to me, that is more important than the number of seizures she has.
I actually seen one of the videos of when you're trying to offer her the crisps. She just snatches it and throws it to the side.
Working on Teagan's tactile defensiveness. Crisp packets have always been a huge issue for her.
Don't you put your hand in, not your mouth.
Not impressed mum.
In.
Stuff this.
Where before she was on oil, she couldn't do these skills. She lost everything because of Teagan's chromosome deficiency. She was always going to be behind in learning her basic life skills. Yeah. So at the age of 3.5, she just started to walk. You know, she just started to pick up a fork and put food in her mouth. She just started to do the things a 12-month-old would do. Yeah. And then her epilepsy was so aggressive, she lost all her skills. So when she went back on the oil, she relearned them. So, and then again last year, during the first lockdown, she lost them again. Right. So we're now still relearning. So those videos you're seeing that I'm posting recently, they're huge milestones for me and for her, but they also prove that this oil has changed her life. Yeah. It might not be she's seizure free like some children. And if I'm honest, I don't think I've ever accepted she will be, because I don't think she'll ever be seizure free. But she's happy. You know, she is the happiest little girl. If you look at any of our social media, she's always smiling. Yeah. Always smiling, you know, and she's had a hard life, but she just gets on with it. Yeah. And if we could just have a prescription on the NHS for this oil, it would allow me to have a happy life.
Yeah.
Because every morning I wake up and I think to myself, how am I going to raise money today?
Yeah.
And I'm missing out on being a happy mum and all that kind of thing, because I work full time, I have a special needs child, and I have the complete responsibility of raising money to keep her alive.
Yeah.
Now, I've been doing this, raising money, nearly 2.5 years, 3 years probably now. And I've asked all my local community, my family, my friends, strangers, social media, how many more people can I ask for help?
Yeah.
I can't expect the same people to help all the time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are.
Yeah. You've done a tremendous job, Emma. I mean, I looked over the stuff, and to be honest, you have done a tremendous job. The key rings, the T-shirts, you know, you've been extremely innovative about your approach towards this, because I'll be quite honest, like what you said there, you can't keep asking the same people over and over. It's like, when I look over these stories, it's like, it actually blows my mind how much difficulty you're getting put on top of the situation that's already extremely challenging. Like, to raise a special needs child in itself is a Herculean task, you know, that I have absolutely no insight into what it must be like. But from the outside looking in, it's ridiculous. There shouldn't be this situation in the UK. It shouldn't be in modern countries that we have this situation that, as you've already said, that's been resolved. You know, they should have already put this through the correct channel.
What my biggest issue is? My biggest issue with the whole NHS prescription is the fact that there are 3 children in the UK that have full extract cannabis oil from Holland on a prescription by the NHS. Paid for, supplied for, imported by the NHS. Why? I want to know why those 3 children, obviously I'm so pleased they've got it. There's no pressure on the families to find the money. But I want to know why those 3 children are considered to be more important than my daughter and all the other children that are fighting for medication. I think that is absolutely disgusting. That it's a postcode lottery, or you make as much noise as you can, you get what you want. I think it's awful. That is my biggest. That is the worst thing about this. I find I'm so infuriated that my child's life isn't seen to be as important as other children. It's a personal attack. That's how I take it. That might not be how they see it, but that is how I take it. And I know for a fact, if it's one of their children that had epilepsy, needed the medication, they'd get it tomorrow.
Yeah, honestly, Emma, I fully agree. And the thing that bugs me the most about this as well is that the 3 children you're referring to, is like the specialist panel that was created and then they dissolved it. Why not make a new specialist panel? Why not just make a new panel that allows that circumstance to happen?
There is a panel, they're called the rest gas panel, I think they're called, and I've asked 3 times to be referred, and I get told no. So I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it, because there's evidence that our children are the evidence. I said our children are the evidence. You know, there's more than, not just Teagan, there's 15, 20 children on this oil that have, their lives have changed so much, so much. And doctors still won't prescribe. They say originally we were told it was because there wasn't enough evidence. And then last year, before COVID, Matt Hancock told us it was due to cost. Now, I would like Matt Hancock, not so much now, to work out exactly how much our children are costing the NHS when they have to be blue lighted into hospital, put in resus, hospital bed, rescue medication, doctor's time, nurse's time, and they're in there for a couple of days. So you tell me all that money that our children are taking off the NHS, why not do like a quarter of that for them to have medication? it makes me sick. It really does.
Understandably, it really does. I mean, is that where you are at now then? It's just continuous, just acquiring funds and just hoping in the near future that the laws make it more accessible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still fighting. I'm still hassling doctors. See, my local epilepsy doctor, he wants to help. He wants to prescribe, but his trust won't let him.
Yeah.
That's another issue.
Mm.
So, and the private doctors, they're running out.
Yeah.
There was a private doctor. He got reported by the BPNA. They dropped the case because there was nothing in it. It was a BPNA trying to be difficult.
Yeah.
He didn't get charged of anything. It was completely dropped. But that terrified him. He refused to prescribe from then on.
Yeah.
Luckily, he is still prescribing for us because I've got nobody else. And the other doctor who prescribes from private hospital, she's retiring at some point. So who's left?
It's almost
There's
like
one clinic.
it's almost like a racket, intimidation almost, it's
It
like,
is.
because they're threatening their professionalism, and I think
Yeah.
that's just through this one little scope,
Yep. Honestly, it makes me sick. It makes me physically sick.
Thanks to Emma for giving me her time, and thanks to you for sticking around until the end of the video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the content. I'll see you next time.